Hey, what's happening, man? This is Digit, you know what I'm saying? And this is volume one of Life of a Number. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all know me as Seven. Some of y'all know me as Digit. You know what I mean? Regardless, I am me. So the purpose of this documentary, you know what I'm saying, is more so for me, you know what I mean, it is for you. I decided to start journaling, you know what I'm saying, my day-to-day experiences so that later on I can really, have an accurate account for what happened. Um, so I can be able to explain some things later on down the line. You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell y'all some things and they're gonna come true. You know what I mean? And it's not more so for me to say I told you so, but more for me to say, wow, you know what I mean? Like I'm growing in this energy field, you know what I mean, that I'm in. Um, Today is December 12th, 12, December 12th, 2012, and this is volume one of Life of a Number. Um, I was born on the 2nd of December, 12 2. I'm not going to get a year because right now that's not really important. But um, some things happened earlier in life. You know what I'm saying? 5 years old, I started seeing things in color. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's when I started talking to myself a little bit. And I realized that I really wasn't talking to myself. I was talking to different beings that was around me. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I've always been a very spiritual person. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of my experiences, or regardless of what I was doing in life. You know what I mean? Um, as a young man, as a kid, as a grown man. You know what I mean? As a businessman, as a family man, whatever the case, I've always been real close to the source. You know what I mean? So as a youngin, some things had taken place that caused me to really question a few things, and the answers that I was given, it really kind of seemed supernatural, and I I didn't really know how to take all that. So how do you explain supernatural things to a 5 year old, to a 6 year old? You know what I mean? You know, all you can tell them about is God, and whatever your religion is, that's how you can do it. But that still doesn't give them the explanation of what they're experiencing at that moment. So those things later on, I'll kind of get into what, those stories, you know what I'm saying, and those experiences. But um, today I went and saw a Reiki master, and I decided to go get a cleansing done, you know what I'm saying, and a healing done. And regardless of what any of y'all think, regardless of whatever your beliefs are, um, gravity is gravity. You know what I'm saying? And you can argue that however, and you can explain it however, but it's the name of whatever we gave the that thing that keeps us planted to the ground. You know what I mean? We call it gravity. So I'm not really gonna get too much into the whole name calling of things. I'm just gonna give you my experiences, and however you see it, however you take it, you can either decide to never watch these, you know what I mean, or you could decide to take a journey through the eyes of the digit, you know what I'm saying, through the eyes of a man who's seen and done a lot of things. And regardless of how you believe about it, you'll hear from people, you know what I'm saying? You'll see people, you can go to my Facebook page and I'll draw people out just to show you that what I'm saying is real, and it's not a joke, it's nothing to be played with, and you'll respect it, you know what I'm saying? Cuz that's just what it is. So, it's it's journaling in these documentaries is done with the intent of peace, truth, harmony, and understanding. And that's what you need to understand first. And that's what I'm all about, man. Peace, truth, harmony, understanding, and purpose. You know what I mean? So nothing that I do is without purpose. Nothing. You know what I mean? Nothing that I do is without purpose. And I believe that's how it should be, man. You know what I mean? You shouldn't just go around day to day, you know what I mean, just doing shit. You know what I mean? Because everything you do has another thing that comes along with that. Every deed has another deed. Every action has a reaction. And every reaction a reaction. Everything is linked together by a chain of events. Those chain of events, you know what I'm saying, created by thought first, action second, momentum third. You know what I mean? They say life is 90% of what is life is 90% of what happened to us. No, 10% of what happened to us, 90% of how we respond to it. I'm gonna say that again. Life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we respond to it. 10% of what happens, 90% of how we respond. 10% of what happens, 90% of how we respond and how you respond. And then when you respond, something happens. And then now you got to respond again. You know what I'm saying? So it's an endless cycle of energy. And what type of energy you possess, you know what I mean? That's what surrounds you. So these journals, man, it's about the energy that surrounds me. You know what I'm saying? This ain't about no music. This ain't about no business. You know what I mean? This is about me. This is who I am. You know what I mean? This is me. 7. Digit. The monster. The healer. The father. You know what I mean? Holla at me, man. I'm going to leave y'all with a quote. And this is what I believe. That we too big to see the small things and too small to see the future. Holla.